Welcome back to ExtraTyne on Gallowgateshots, part of the 90-Minute Podcast Network. My name is Jess and I'm joined by my co-host Laura, and this week we've also been joined by Sam and Roger. We'll just get straight into it. I mean, it feels like this time of the week comes and I'm like, oh, we're just going to be repeating ourselves because, as I said, week after week, it's the same old shit again and again. But yes, last Friday, so Villa come to St James's Park. I don't think any of us were expecting much. I can't remember what mine and Laura's predictions were, but I know our expectations weren't very high. I will say that we exceeded my expectations, but how we went about it was absolutely horrendous. Laura, I'll come to you first. We are just going to have the same conversation that we've had for the last however many weeks.
Yeah.
But Laura, let's hear your thoughts. Talk us through the game.
Well, I turned my phone off, like I sometimes do. I put it away, didn't look at Twitter, just watched it, was happy with the lineup. Gail, happy with that. And then I was quite impressed. I thought we attacked well. I thought Joe Linton did actually really well against Mings. I think he had the better of him. I think he was really strong, but so frustrating. And I think the end quality in the box was just so poor. And then Dummett was getting crosses in. We had quite a few chances. And then I looked at my phone at half time and it was just negative. I rang my dad and I was like, oh, I think we did really well. Like, I was quite happy. And then I thought, and I reflected and I was like, you know what? No, it was shit. But it was just because it was tiny bit better than West Brom. And it was slightly more attacking, that because our expectations are so low and West Brom was so diabolically bad that I thought that was acceptable, and it's not.
Yeah.
And then, so it was like a false first half for me. And then second half, I don't think was any better. I thought like we're playing players out of position. We didn't look like we had a clue. Like every time there was a counter attack, it was like, right, come on. And then they didn't have a plan. They didn't know what to do. Where it's like they don't train for counter attacks or anything like that because they just didn't know who to pass to, what to do. The substitutions really annoyed us as well because it took so long to change it. And then did he take Kraft off for Mankillo? And I don't know if it was an injury or what, but how's that going to get to win the game? Like, it's just not. And then what time did he bring Andy Carroll on?
2 minutes to go, probably.
87 minutes, yeah, 87 minutes. And then, truthfully, when it went in, and I don't want to be one of those people that, like, don't care if we get beat, hate Bruce, but I honestly didn't even celebrate, like, a 94th minute equaliser that I would normally. I just really wasn't asked because I was like, still not good enough.
Yeah, no, I felt exactly the same. I think because obviously we went into it with such low expectations, and I saw the lineup and I saw Hendrick had been dropped. And I think my night peaked there, to be honest. I was like that. I took that as a win. So, but yeah, it was just it was so uninspiring again. And like you said, Laura, the substitutions to bring Andy Carroll on the 87th minute. Like I think I put it on Twitter. Actually, I know I said it in the group as well. It feels like Bruce is taking the piss out of us.
And him as well, and Andy Carroll.
And him. Well, like that's to me that's an insult. Like it's time wasting when we're not in a position. At that point, we were 1-0 down. It's time wasting when we're not in a position to be wasting any time. Roger, how did you feel? Did you see any positives?
Yeah, well, it was really bittersweet at the end because, like, unlike Laura, I did celebrate, and then I instantly felt empty because it's like, what are you celebrating? Like,
yeah,
we've drawn a game. Yes, I would probably, I would have took a point at the start of the game in isolation, but really we're not we're not able to take games in isolation now. We need to be able to put some results together, and like baffling. I think it's like everybody in the city, bar the people who are making the actual decision, know that Dwight Gale is not a left winger and that Ryan Fraser is not a striker. And I don't really know how best to communicate that with Steve Bruce because it's blatantly obvious. I don't mind playing players out of position if you have to. Like, that's just, sometimes it's necessary, but it was completely unnecessary to play your best goal scorer available out wide. It was just, it's like you say, like, Bruce, he's just baffling. He's totally baffling. Like, it's like he's deliberately doing it, but he can't be, but maybe he's agent Bruce.
I think the cynic in me's thinking he is doing it on purpose, but I hope not. I know, Sam, I know you're on Twitter, so I know you'll have seen a lot of the stuff that I saw. How did you feel about Joe Linton in the game on Friday? Because I called him, what did I say? I said that he had no sense of urgency, and I got slated. How did you think he played?
He's such an odd player. I thought he was okay, but like Laura said, our expectations are so low. Yeah. You're excited if Hendrick doesn't play. I was delighted that Dubravka came back in. Like, there's nothing to be excited about, so you take any bit of positivity. I thought he played okay, but I mean, what am I comparing him to? I'm not thinking he played well as a striker, because I honestly don't think he can score or assist. Yeah. He held the ball up. He looked a bit more positive running at people on the right-hand side instead. So by his standards, it was better. I don't think he's a Premier League player, though. And I find Twitter to be a really difficult place, because it's almost like you have to be one way or the other. And you've got there are actually people that search for his name to find tweets and then get on your back, because it happens to me. And I'm like, where did you even find that? They search for the name and then, rip you apart and hashtag be kind and stuff. And I'm like, you can have an opinion about a player not being very good. Yeah. He could, continue to improve and maybe do something, but it's not going to be what we need at the minute. Yeah. If it was me, I would have him out of the team, and that sounds harsh. But if he can't assist and he can't score, then there's no real point to what he's doing. Yeah. I don't need him in my team to win aerial challenges. But, that it doesn't matter if he cost 40p or 40 million. That's not the impact that we need at the minute. So,
yeah, no, I think I found him, even though it was arguably one of his better games, I found him more frustrating to watch on Friday, because it felt to me like he was doing all the hard work. Like Laura said, he appeared strong. Like he was holding his own, and then it was getting to like the last thing that he had to do is it cross the ball in and put the ball in the back of the net, and he just crumbled. Yeah. Like,
it's just so indecisive. Like, and then when he does make a decision, it's too late or it's the wrong choice, and you're like,
which that's so exactly the point I was trying to make. Was like, when I say he's got no sense of urgency, it's like he gets to that bit where he needs to. It has to be the final ball, and he just like I say, he just crumbles, and he needs to be quicker, and he needs to make the decision of what he's going to do. And 9 times out of 10, he just does. Well, I'd say arguably 10 times out of 10. And it's just, that's the incredibly frustrating thing. Right, enough of Villa. Chris, I can't remember what day it was. I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday. But Wilder left Sheffield United. And that ignited a big debate, as does anything amongst Newcastle fans. It one, ignited the debate of whether or not we would have him, and two, if he's going, why is Bruce not? So just want to have quickly touch on that. Roger, I'm going to come to you. Would you take Wilder, given who we've got at the minute?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like without a question. I think there's obviously a lot. I mean, it's difficult because we support Newcastle, so we don't really know the ins and outs of Sheffield United and how, but like my dad's really friendly with a couple of lads from Sheffield, and they really liked him. And I think he brought the club from like the 3rd tier all the way up. And I think, but it's obviously not that, it's the other side. It's the higher up. They obviously don't agree and they've clashed. So that's why he's gone. But I would 100% take, under the right circumstances, I would take him at our club. But I think any manager you get in under, Mike Ashley's the problem. We all know that. And I think he would improve things, because he seems to have an ability to change games, and he's got a striker there. Hopefully, in a couple of games' time, could actually score goals. And I think that was the only thing that Sheffield United were missing, really. Same with Brighton, although they're pulling some results together now. If they had a Callum Wilson, then I don't think they would be in that position they're in now, and I think we'd look a lot worse. But I would have took them, definitely.
Yeah, I think a lot of the argument for taking Wilder were like, the job that he's done has been with like minimal funding. Maybe not this season. I think he's obviously because they've had like the Premier League money and maybe he's spent a little bit more. Like you, I don't know the ins and outs of Sheffield United, but Laura, I don't know if you're the same opinion as me, but I'm kind of at the point now where I would take pretty much anyone.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
I'll do it.
I'd literally take Chris Eubank over over anyone. Never mind Chris Wilder. I'd take anyone. I just think even just Sheffield United, the odd time that I've watched them, but I don't know if I'm biased as well because I just hate watching Newcastle at the minute. But I just think they play a bit better than us. They seem to have a slightly more bit of a plan, and I just think Chris Wilder did a decent job with what he had, and I think like last season exceeded expectations beyond belief, and then this season they're going down, but that's probably where they should be anyway.
I think the Brewster signing has been a big problem for him. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back, big problem.
Yeah, definitely. What else has happened this week? England call-ups. Or shall we say lack of England call-ups. Carl Darlow, again, has been overlooked. I know, and people were straight in to say, well, it's three very easy games. I think one of them's against like San Marino or something like that. But the Euros are coming up, and you'd like to think that he was considering his strongest side. But no, Darlow's been overlooked again. Sam, do you think that's fair, or were you expecting Darlow to be called up to the England side given his performance throughout this season?
Yeah, I never thought he would be called up, and I've been quite vocal about that because he's not considered our number one, and he would never have been considered our number one, and I think that's what's going to be in their thinking. Outside of, they don't like picking anyone that's from the north of the country. Dubravka was always going to come back in. So as well as Darlow played, without that consistency in playing, I just didn't think he would be an option. My problem with Sam Johnson being called up is, what's the point when you've probably, as a third choice keeper, you've got young players that play for the under-21s. You've got Ramsdale there. That is he much different to Johnson? He's younger. He's going to be considered for the future. You've got Freddie Woodman, who's playing out of his skin for Swansea in the Championship. So is that not the time? We do it in every other position in the team. We look at young players coming in. You've got Saka coming in, and I know he's in the first team in Arsenal. Why can't you do the same thing for a goalkeeper instead of, without being disrespectful to Johnson, he shouldn't be near the England setup as a West Brom keeper in a poor squad that's probably going to get relegated. So Darlow, I think it's simply because unless there's an injury, he's not going to play for us for the rest of the season. I think, if dependent where we are next season, I think he needs to go somewhere and play first team football, hopefully in a Premier League club, and he might get that opportunity. But if I was him, I'd be phoning the Wales manager and trying to get myself into that squad, because I think they would have more trust in him. Yeah,
I think it's such a shame given how well he's played. I know, like you say, I know he's not our first choice and whatever, but he really, really he stepped up to the plate and he did exactly what was needed and then some. So I do think it's a real shame that he didn't get a call up. Roger, were you expecting him to get a call up?
Nah, I mean, I think if a couple of months ago when he was playing, like Sam was saying, consistently, then he might have been. But I think she's absolutely right. I think that he's not our first choice. So, and I think towards the end, I think when he knew Dubravka was coming back, he did unravel a little bit. He would, he didn't drop any major risks, but his distribution was poorer.
Yeah.
You know, his decision making wasn't as good, and I think, not that I think any of those keepers are very top level, but at that really high level, you need to be really on your game all the time, and like you're saying, you need to be playing consistently. So I wouldn't have had him in, and like I think, you know, the Pickford's a blue chip player, so he's always going to be in the squad, and I think he's just working out who his 2 and 3 are. I don't really think that there's a question about who's going to be the number 1 unless Pickford gets injured.
Yeah.
Like, I really think he'll just be the number 1.
Is Pickford in the squad?
No, I think he's injured. He's injured
Yeah.
now. But I think going forward, I think as soon as he's fit, he'll be back in that. And that was the problem with Joe Hart for years. He was guaranteed that he was going to play, and he got sloppy. So, you know, Henderson's done well, and Johnson's done all right, but Nick Pope's all right. But there's no real pressure on his shirt.
Yeah.
Really.
I think that, like, if you compare Darlow and Pickford this season, I wouldn't, to be honest, from what I've seen of Pickford, obviously I haven't seen every game, but I wouldn't have said that there was, like, Pickford, like we've just said, I know, like, Darlow started to unravel a little bit, but in terms of consistency, I would choose Darlow, because the amount of times that you, like, if you're not watching the game as well, if you log on to Twitter and see Pickford's had a howler, Pickford's done this, I think that it happens far more often for him than it does for Darlow. I can't really recall many times this season when we've said that Darlow's had a howler, to be honest. So this week, we, as ever, we go out to Twitter and we ask a question. Last week we asked, what would Newcastle United be if they were a film? And we had some incredible responses. So some not suitable for the podcast. Somewhat brilliant. So this week, because it was St. Patrick's Day yesterday, we're recording this on Thursday for whenever you're listening to it. Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, so we decided to make the patron saints of NUFC, past or present, managers, players, whatever you like. The example that we gave was John Treshelby would be the patron saint of laziness, which was Laura's example. When we were trying to think of a way to sum it up perfectly, Laura came out with that, and I was like, that's it. That's how we're. So I'll come to you three first if you have got any, and then as ever I'll go back to Twitter and read out those. Laura, I'm going to come to you first. What have you got for your patron saints of NUFC?
I've just got like a massive list, to be honest, but I tried to be like quite clever about it if I could. I don't know if I could. But like, I just try to think of players first, and then was like, right, what's their trait? What's their personality? So I had like, Shola would be the patron saint of fidelity, because I don't think he really played for any other club. Whereas you've got like, I thought it was quite nice. But then on the other hand, you've got Stephen Taylor, who I think would be the patron saint of the Tudors, because I think he was a proper player and couldn't stick to one girl.
Or cheerleaders. He was a patron saint of cheerleaders.
Cisse, patron saint of offside.
Yes.
Ginola, the patron saint of L'Oreal. Part of this reasons. Then I had, this is why I was asking the question in the group chat, is Gillespie the patron saint of pirates, because he's only got one leg, or one foot, should I say. And then Rafa, hope, obviously, patron saint of hope, he gave us hope. And then on the other hand, Bruce, the patron saint of Cephomaniacs. Now, I know, and I feel like Susie Dent with the word of the day here, but, but I literally Googled a person who makes excuses and doesn't admit when he's wrong, and that came up, and I think it sums him up perfectly, and he is the patron saint of Cephomaniacs. And then I think that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. And then I promised my friend's little boy who was in my class, I threw it out in my class today, and I was asking them, and he's amazing with his knowledge. And he had Fraser for pace, patron saint of pace, Maximum for skill, whereas I would have said huffiness. and mood swings. And then Les Ferdinand, patron saint of headers, bless him. And bear in mind, he's only 8. This is how good his knowledge is.
That is good knowledge.
Yeah.
Oh, that's adorable.
I know.
That Cephomania, because that's my new favourite word. I absolutely love it.
You're a total Cephomaniac. You just use
I want to use it all the
liberally
time.
now.
You'll say that in an argument and everyone will just stop. Like, what does that mean?
Oh, you just won.
Yeah. Sam, have you got any patron saints of NUFC?
I didn't know the show was going to be educational. Thanks for that. I'm going to find a way to put that into my working day tomorrow. Yeah, I only had a couple of funny ones. What I said yesterday, and I don't know why it came into my head, was that Alan Shearer's left foot is the patron saint of Neil Lennon's face.
I love that one.
And I just had to watch videos of it again and again because I can't stand Neil Lennon. One that I saw that I liked and I had thought about it was that Demba Ba is the patron saint of strawberry syrup.
Yes.
Yeah. Demba.
And one of my other favourites was that Johan Kabay was the patron saint of being beautiful.
Yes, obviously. I mean, that's a
he was a wonderful man. Not that he's dead, but.
All right. He has just retired though, so you know.
Yeah.
Roger, did you have any patron saints of NUFC?
Aye.
Oh,
I had patron saint of body positivity was Lauren Robert for his display at the end of the season with his little grey shreddies on.
God, I wish we could edit in the picture. If Chris, anyone?
I mean, I've got a pair upstairs if you can wait. I mean, they're a bit more weathered than his. Maybe he's not.
For the people who are on audio only, Roger's just appeared in a pair of white.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm joking.
Yeah. The patron saint of the convenient suspension would be Kevin Nolan. He was always suspended around Christmas time, weirdly.
Yes.
And he did it five seasons in a row, 2 with us and 3 with West Ham.
He's not
daft, he was
like
forever getting booked. The patron saint of slow starts, Percino, booked it first 5 games, and then he became cult hero. The patron saint of self-belief, John Carver.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
The patron saint of horses would be Barry Rogerson for his effort on Derby Day for punching the horse.
Is that his name?
Oh, is that his name?
Yeah, I might have just slandered it. No, I haven't slandered. He's a lovely man. Yes. And then 2 last ones. The patron saint of chest hair was Dabazas for his celebration against the Mackhams. And then the patron saint of indecision is
Joe. Joe. All brilliant, all absolutely brilliant. Very, very impressed. So we'll go out to Twitter now. I'll read through them as ever. I'm Rob M, friend of the podcast, said Chancellor Mbemba will be the patron saint of drop of the shoulder and taking on the entire opposition until he loses the ball, which is the wordiest patron saint.
I was going to say, it's not that quick, is it?
Ever.
It's not as snappy.
No. And then he said, Johan Kabay could be the patron saint of Lush. That's probably easier to say than my first one, which I agree with. Yes. Mark from All Smiling Faces said Lualua and Martins could be joint patron saints of backflips. And then he said, we're going to be here all night just reading Mark's. He's got absolutely loads. Colaccini, patron saint of hair curlers or perm solution. Barry Venison, patron saint of mullet. Matt Ritchie, patron saint of corner flags, which I like that one. Ryan Taylor, the patron saint of walls. Peter Beardsley, the patron saint of shuffles and chicken wraps, which I don't get. Does anyone understand chicken wraps?
Chicken wraps. No. There's a thing there, mind.
Is it something off Athletic or Mints, maybe? Because I know they play, and I think Bob Mortimer plays Peter Beardsley on Athletic or Mints. I don't know if I've maybe just missed that one. That's all I can assume. And then Darryl replied to the Peter Beardsley one, also from the channel, saying, and cooking eggs, which again, like, are we missing something? What?
Maybe he likes poultry in all of its forms.
What has Peter Beardsley got to do with cooking eggs?
Why didn't we ask this in the group chat before we came up?
Yeah.
I know. I've learnt my lesson. We had John Roy, 1984, again had a few. Saint Nobby, patron saint of trumpet playing. Saint Tino, patron saint of addicts. Saint Lauren Robert, patron saint of left feet. And Saint Joe Linton, patron saint of pacifists because he refuses to shoot.
I love that one. That was my favourite.
Paulie Belter said Andy Carroll is the patron saint of elbows. Jenky88 said, and this was my actual first thought as well, so I'm so pleased someone else said it. Alan Pardew is undoubtedly the patron saint of dupe, which I think we've said this on this show maybe like 3 or 4 times now, that Alan Pardew just looks like he absolutely stinks of dupe.
Yeah.
Like,
Super high karate, just
like,
absolutely.
You can just tell, can't you?
What a fragrance.
Emile Franchi, hello Emile, said Shola would be the patron saint of hats. From have you seen when he was on Cribs? When he was on,
oh yes,
and he just had loads of hats, and his patter was absolutely
terrible. He's talking about his table. So this table lights up, and then it lights up, and he's like. And then it goes a different colour, like
He was literally as slow. He was as slow as his football, wasn't he? Just like walking around the room, just like, well, in here we've got this, and
my favourite bit was when he's like on his landing or like in the hallway or something, and he's got like a canvas on the wall, and it's a reflection of what you can see out the window. So it's just like it's like a canvas, but just showing the mirror's image. Just get a mirror, like what? Why would you bother?
Oh god. Yeah.
And so someone replied to that about Shola, saying that he's also the patron saint of apples, bicycles, and penalties. Obviously, there's the picture when he's riding a bike, eating an apple, which I don't know if that's a Photoshop or not. I'm assuming.
No, I think it was when they were in Ireland pre-season when they're Houghton. And I think they were doing some warm downs and that, and then this picture just appeared of him, this majestical picture of him eating a Granny Smith. It was absolutely it's unreal.
It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. We've got one from Sam. You're next. Joe Kinnear would be the patron saint of Johan Kebabs, which
or
first impressions.
Yeah.
There's Simon Bird. You.
Yeah, we would have him for patron saint of a lot of things, I think.
Yeah.
We had M Nesbitt 70 said Yedlin would be the patron saint of tattoos. I think we've had and have a few players who could be patron saint of tattoos, and none of them are very good. We'll have, what's your name? Dave IQ said Supermac would be the patron. There's another one I don't understand.
I didn't get it either.
If anyone, feel free to dive in and explain. Supermac, patron saint of dentists.
Oh, because I think when he first signed, he had like knee teeth. He had no teeth at the front.
Oh my god!
Like he's first. I think he scored a hat trick against Liverpool in his first game. And I don't know whether it was the first, second, or third goal, but he's like stood like that, and like John Tudor or someone comes behind him.
Yes,
and
he's
got a massive toothy grin. It's absolutely class, and it's just a big gap there, like tight tunnel. Just
well, that explains that one then. Sharpster said Saint Sim de Jong, patron saint of physiotherapists.
Yeah,
absolutely. The Farmster said Steve Bruce is the patron saint of 1980s management methods, which is very wordy but very, very accurate.
Very accurate.
And then I know this isn't the thing, but I'm going to go into the conversation that was had afterwards. Ironic Geordie said the 1980s, the decade of no tactics, and then the Farmster said 4-4-2, have a pint and a pie. I mean, that is essentially what we're living right now.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Smith, which was Denver Bar, patron saint of strawberry syrup, absolutely brilliant. Ketzbayer, I believe it's his birthday today. Happy birthday.
Yes.
If you're watching, which obviously you will.
He tunes in every week. He tunes in every week. Because he knows Laura likes bald men, so he's like... he like sits there and he's like, do I get a mention? Will she mention my name?
Well, now he's got one. Now
he's outside the house now, throwing his Adidas at a window. Come on, come out!
I wondered what that was.
Well, yeah.
Not another one.
It happens all the time. I just ignore it.
Trying to stay professional.
Yes, so if you're watching Happy Birthday, I doubt you are, but you are the patron saint of advertising. And I'm assuming that's because he booted the advertising board, and didn't he? Jeff Hendrick, this is from Anth09. Jeff Hendrick, patron saint of ghostwriters. Saint Obafemi, the patron saint of Thunder Bastards, which I love because I just love the word Thunder Bastard. We've got another one from Mike Focus, which is another one, Denver Bar, patron saint of syrup. Jamie H, 1988, Saint Darlow, the patron saint of fantastic hair, which I just absolutely love.
He does have fantastic hair.
You know what? I can't actually picture his hair right now. Yeah. Is he not?
Really,
is
really
it
just very slick? That's the only way to describe it. I think slick.
Yeah. Has he not just got spiky hair?
No, well, yeah, but
it's Paddy's absolutely.
I was going to say just Paddy to it. Yeah. Shout out to Paddy.
Yep.
Lovely.
I had Teoti as the God rest his soul, but the patron saint of wives and girlfriends because he had both at the same time.
Yes.
He had like 7 passports. He had like a Belgian
well, he could be
passport.
shooters with Stephen Taylor.
There you go.
Yeah.
They started their own little.
Yeah.
Mark Blackford said, Steve Bruce, the patron saint of, and I don't want to do it because I can't do it, but you know how he says Joe and Hope and
you know.
Thank you. Thank you. So he's the patron saint of Joe and Hope and well, you know. That sounds scout, I think. I think that was.
No, that was a strong Bruce.
That belongs on a Liverpool podcast, I think. And Andy Hansen said, Miggy is the patron saint of smiles, Richie is the patron saint of Rajness, and Bruce is the patron saint of bullshit, and bullshit's in capital letters, just to emphasise the point there.
I think the word he's looking for is sephomaniac.
Yeah. You know what? It was on the tip of my tongue. I just couldn't.
I was about to crossover a dictionary corner.
Like Susie.
Greg Peterson said Saint Shola of the Derby. We had L9090RI, Papa Cisse, patron saint of offsides, which we've had, which is very accurate. Steve Harper, patron saint of the bench. Oh my God.
That's sad.
Twist the knife, Jess. Twist it. Go on.
That wasn't mine.
He's still on the stuff. He's still on the bench. Bless him.
Oh God, I know. It's just where he's destined to be.
He's an absolute legend.
We've got the main event pod, Saint Amiobi, patron saint of Mackham Slain.
Yeah.
We've got AXP said Joe Linton is the patron saint of Scuffin, which looking further than last Friday's game and see how correct that is. God, there's loads. Nick McGuinness said, is this Marcelino?
Yeah.
Marcelino, patron saint of the sick note.
Yeah.
Ketzabaya.
I was going to say, is that the finger? Yeah.
And then we've got Ketzabaya again. Happy birthday if you're watching. Patron advertising boards. David McGivern. Lee Charnley is the patron saint of tea bags.
Yeah. I don't think that's the action. I think it's the delivery of cups of tea because that's basically what he does. He's the tea boy.
Right, okay. See, tea bag.
I don't think it's anything sexual.
I was a bit worried.
You know? I mean,
I wasn't thinking about a tea bag, what you put in a cup of tea, so I was wondering what was going on in that boardroom.
but those are your issues.
That says a lot more about David McGivern. Lindsay Quinn said Stephen Taylor, patron saint of fist pumps. Blaine Murphy said Saint Maximin's patron saint of wizardry, which I liked. Kevin Keegan is this is really nice, patron saint of understanding, which is
that is nice.
Don't start on Kevin because I'll well up and it'll get messy.
Craft, oh my god, I haven't seen this one. DB88 NUFC said Craft is the patron saint of diarrhea. John Joe Shelby, this is from Dan Waff. John Joe Shelby, the patron saint of Death Eaters. Is that Harry Potter reference? Because he looks like he looks like Voldemort.
Lord Voldemort. Yeah.
So that might be a Harry Potter reference.
Yeah.
D Vision.
We should go to Dictionary Corner. You should know, Laura. Come on. You're
not a Harry Potter fan. No.
I'm not a Harry Potter fan either. I've never really got it. D Vision 42. Steve Bruce, the patron saint of liars and fakes. Artisan Jones said Steve Bruce is the patron saint of clowns. And then Steve Zip said Jeff Hendrick is the patron saint of shite. With the perfect note to end.
Perfect place to end that one then.
Yeah.
Do we have any favourites from the ones that we had in? Anyone?
I love the pacifist one about Joe Linton. I thought it wasn't. It could have been just as simple as shite, like Jeff Hendrick, but it wasn't. There was thought behind it, and I like that.
I like that one as well.
I'm sure I've been on a bike. Yes. With an apple. You know what? I'm sure there was a picture of Shola in a bowler once.
Was that?
With a bowler hat on. Yeah.
Was that not photoshopped onto the bike?
I really hope not. But now you've mentioned it, it probably was. But
because I think that's where I'm getting confused, because I think the bike was real and the apple was real.
Apple was real.
But then maybe someone... Oh, I don't know, actually. I'll Google
it. Put it out to Twitter. Twitter will answer us.
Well... Yeah. If anyone knows which picture Roger's on about, please let us know.
In a bowler.
Yeah, we really want to see it. So yes, thank you so much to everyone who sent in answers. Again, that was absolutely unreal, and we'll be back for the next episode with another question to pick your brains. Sadly, we've got to look to the week ahead. We've got what has been dubbed as a cup final on Saturday.
Well, we're not good then.
I know. I don't get that because we're shitting them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can we say it's a cup semi-final?
We can. We've got a cup semi-final on Saturday. We play Brighton, who are. But I don't even want to call them relegation rivals anymore, because I feel like it's between us and Fulham now. But they're still in Bruce's 20 teams or whatever he thinks is still in the relegation. But yes, we play Brighton on Saturday. The other games around us, there's Fulham, Leeds tomorrow, but there's not many games. And then I think we're going to an international break. Is that right? After this one, yeah. So we were when I last checked, we were 5-1 to win this game. When you consider Brighton are only 1 point above us, 1 point ahead of us. Laura, I'm going to come to you. Is that a sign of how far we've fallen? Because to be a team who are, as I've said, a relegation rival, there's only 1 point between us, but we are 5-1 to win, which is like, unless we've been playing the likes of City, that's like the longest odds I've seen us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just quite amazing, the turnaround from the media and the pundits and saying that we're a disgrace for wanting Bruce out and what do we want, to then be going in against, like you say, a relegation rival who are just 1 point ahead of being not favourites. It's just so contradictory all the time. Yeah. I know we've had this conversation in the group chat about must-win games and is it a must-win? It totally is a must-win. I think before the international break, if we got 3 points, it would be brilliant. But it just shows the momentum that we don't have, that we aren't favourites to win that game, and all the other teams around us are getting momentum. They've got managers who are putting belief into them and putting confidence into them, and our manager just doesn't seem to be doing that. So if you look from an outsider, not even us, if you looked at all the teams, I think you would pick Newcastle as the one to go down, purely because of the state of the club at the minute, the state of the team, the football they're playing, the results that we're not getting. And I still can't say we're getting anything at Brighton, to be honest. I think we could be in the relegation zone when we kick off. And I don't think that'll give them a kick up the arse. I think it'll do the opposite. Because I do think Fulham will win on Friday against Leeds. So I do think we will be in the relegation zone by Saturday night. And I just think that it won't do any favours. I think we'll be nervy. I think we'll be panicking. I think at that point, I do think it's a definite 3-point game. We need to win that. But I don't think Bruce will say it like that. I still think he'll be like, don't get hammered, goal difference, even if we get a point, just don't get hammered. And that is not the outlook we need at the minute. And so, I'm totally not confident at all.
No, I totally agree. I know before the game last week, I said, I just can't see where any goal's going to come from, and we scored both. So what do I know? Sam, can you see us getting... Can you see us getting anything? Can you see us scoring? Can you see any positives whatsoever ahead of Saturday night's game?
My problem is that he's shoehorsing players into this formation that it doesn't suit. We have defensively been a bit better. We are a bit organised. I mean, the other team didn't score against us. We managed to do that ourselves. Dummett coming in's helped a bit. We just need to grind out results. But the goals, I don't see where they're coming from. And, I would replace Steve Bruce with anyone at the minute, because he's not getting the players to fight for the shirt and staying in the division. There's just nothing to him whatsoever. So when you look at Chris Wilder, you can imagine that behind closed doors, he'd be getting torn into players, and, whatever has happened at Sheffield United has happened. But Bruce's personality is just horrendous. I mean, if I was being managed by him, I wouldn't give a shit. I'm picking up my paycheck, and the fans aren't in the stadium, and the manager's being wheeled out in front of whoever and can field questions if he wants to or if he doesn't want to, and the owner doesn't care. How does that instill any kind of fight in you? So,
I watched listened to the Rowan Vine podcast on Under the Cosh, and it was so refreshing to hear somebody, and I know someone's tweeted us saying, no, you can't listen to him, he's a div, but I listened to him, and he didn't say div, he said stronger word that I'm not going to use. But, I thought he was quite genuine, and he was talking about Bruce when he was a manager, and he actually used the word clueless, and it was really refreshing to hear someone tell the truth and say, like, he'll just throw strikers on. He was a centre-half, he hasn't got a clue. He will just throw 7 strikers on the pitch and hope for a goal. He's got no plan. And then you look, like what you were saying, Sam, about personality-wise, you look at Scott Parker, who, like Jess said as well, I think Fulham are our main rivals who we need to now look at, not Brighton, they're ahead. We need to look at the below who are getting points. And I would totally trust Scott Parker in man management and instilling confidence, instilling belief, rather than Steve Bruce, who every interview is throwing players under the bus, being a sophamaniac, just not taking any blame whatsoever from himself. Whereas I think, I would rather have a Scott Parker in the dressing room in a relegation fight, or Chris Wilder, than Steve Bruce, who's only out for himself, in my opinion.
And he's so one-dimensional. He doesn't, you can tell what way we're going to play now that we've got this new tactic. He put whoever into it. They're trying to play a certain way. If you're a defending team, you know exactly what's going to happen. You just know where to starve the areas of the pitch and just start to press us and wait for someone to make a mistake. So I don't know how it'll go at the weekend. I think we'll try to play for a draw. And if we're lucky, we'll get a draw, but it's not enough. It's just nowhere near enough. And we're just praying that players come back from injury. And, it could be too late by the time that happens. And I've genuinely thought that we would be okay until the last couple of games, because I can't see a fight to win. and Bruce making the decisions to kind of make sure we don't get beat, I think has just suffocated us completely. And that's why for the first time, I'm genuinely worried that he's the decision maker, which is why I would rather anybody else makes the decisions to the end of the season instead of him.
Yeah, I totally agree. Roger, how are you feeling about Saturday's game?
I go from like, we've got to win at some point. You know, like looking at it from the outside, like say if you are a fan of a different side and you look at Newcastle, God, they've been on this terrible run, but they've got us. Like, I know I'm trying to be really positive, like, and like, we've got to win at some point, and we need to, like, the thing about, you're talking about comparing Scott Parker and Bruce is like, Scott Parker identified problems around Christmas time, and he fixed the problems through either signing players or coaching players. Yeah. And we've had the same problems, even when we had Almiron and Maximum and Wilson, and we've had the same problems, but we've not done anything to eradicate the problems or deal with the problems. We've just, like you say, like, right, I've got this formation, lads. Go on then.
Yeah.
Like,
it is that.
So Steve, I'm technically a striker, but if you want to play us on the left, then, you know, like, and I think I remember even like playing when you play Sunday League football, you hate playing out of position. And if you're a paid professional footballer who's made his money from scoring goals or knocking in crosses, making assists, and you've got some absolute clown saying, I've got this system, play out on the left, and he's had 10 days to prepare for a game, and he's still going with this formation. Like, it's absolutely bonkers. So I don't think Brighton are out of it. I do think it'll be one of us three.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping.
That was good. That was
well done.
I tried my best. I really went back into Northumberland or wherever he's from and really pulled it out there. Yeah, I think we're going to win on the weekend. I'm going to be positive. I do think we're going to win, in spite of Steve Bruce. Because I think there's still a spirit there from, you know, even, you know, from the players that got up. I think there's still that core of spirit, you know, signified, I think, by the goal in the last minute against Villa. That there is a spirit, there is something there.
But it worries me that the spirit is having to come from ignore what he says over there.
Yeah.
We're going to do what we want, right? Ignore that.
Yeah.
It gets to 60 minutes or whatever, right? This isn't working. Ignore him. Let's just do what we want to do.
It's like a revolt almost.
Yeah, that's what worries me. Like,
sounds like one of my lessons I used to teach. You know, just ignore him at the front, prancing around with these numbers and that. I
think that's why it came to us straight away, because it's happened all day today.
Yeah, no, we're going to win. Come on, we're going to win.
Right. I'd like to think so. I think we touched on this last week or the week before, but one of the most frustrating things that he's ever, and he said a lot, but one of the most frustrating things that he's ever said was that he didn't start Gale and Carroll because that would mean changing the system.
Oh my God.
But the system, the system that which he's referring to is the system in which Wilson, Almiron and St. Maximin are available. None of them were available, so you've got
why isn't the interviewer questioning that? Because you watch these like against Klopp and the big ones, when Klopp says something wrong, they're on him straight away, and there's plenty videos of them bickering and arguing. Why is Bruce so like immune to that?
He's a nice guy, man, Laura. He's a lovely guy.
Look at this. He's a sophomaniac, and that's the end of it.
It's like he's got some sort of free pass. Like, it's never, no matter what result, no matter how we play, he never ever is questioned on it. And I think we might have touched on it earlier on in the press conferences now, and it's all over social media because the journalists are starting to like not speak their minds, but they are starting to be honest about what happens. They'll go into a press conference with him, like there'll be one tomorrow ahead of Saturday's game, and I think they get one question each. Like, and it's absolute bollocks. He is literally getting a free pass to just be shit because he's not getting pulled up on it. He's clearly not getting pulled up on it by the powers that be above him. And then he's not getting pulled up on it by journalists. And then you've got the dickheads sat in the studios of the pundits and that who are just being like, oh, Newcastle fans, they ask for too much and they want this. And I'm sorry, but no, like he's getting away with far too much. And
he's got his rehearsed answers that he every question, if you watch every question, it comes back to accumulated points, COVID, injury, and but
he doesn't make excuses.
Yeah, he just bats them. He gives them the same answer every single time. You're like, ooh.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating.
It'd be impactful if they just didn't show up for the press conference, just empty Zoom. That would be hilarious.
You know what? It'll get to the point where it is that, because I know they've banned indefinitely. They've banned at least one person, and it's clear that journalists are getting frustrated and they're starting to air the frustrations out in public, which reflects badly on Newcastle. But I mean, if I was them, if I was a journalist, I just wouldn't bother. I would not bother me arse to turn up for a press conference when I'm going to be allowed to ask one question and the answer which I'm going to get has already been written. It'll be written down in front of them already. You know what I mean? It's completely pointless. But yes, I'll quickly come around and get some score predictions for Saturday night. Laura, what we're saying?
A ridiculously dull game. Saturday night telly. 1-0 Brighton.
1-0 Brighton. Sam, what do you think?
I'm gonna go 1-1.
1-1. Roger.
3-0 Newcastle. I'll be watching Ant and Decker for half an hour.
Yeah, here's scoring them 3 goals.
Yeah, I'll be watching Ant and Deck as well. I mean, I'll put the game on my phone or something, but I'm at the point now where I'm not even bothered, and I tell myself over and over again that I'm not going to watch. I'm not bothered. And then it gets to 5 minutes before kickoff, and I'm scrambling around to plug my laptop in, and I end up watching it anyway because we're all absolute monks.
It's like the mafia. You can't get out. You suck you back in every time. It's like the mafia.
They've sucked us in, and we can't leave. Thank you so much, Laura, as ever, my wonderful co-host. Thank you so much to Sam for joining us, to Roger for being on again.
Thank you.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Like I said, we've got Brighton on Saturday, whenever you're watching this, tomorrow, whatever. Before that, don't forget to watch Beyond the Lines with Matty. Matty spoke to Scott from We Are Brighton and gave a little preview for Saturday night's game. I don't know if the All With Smiling Faces boys are doing a watch along on Saturday night. They probably are, because clearly they're all mad as well. Don't know if we'll be back next week. I don't know much, do I? I don't know if we'll be back next week because there's an international break, but we'll be back very, very soon to talk more Newcastle United, the joys. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Hopefully next time I speak to you, we'll have another 3 points and we'll be another 3 points closer to
Come on.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel, and I will see you next time.